You're listening to The Artist Athlete, episode 46, part 2. This podcast is dedicated to circus. It's a place for professionals in the industry to share their stories, viewpoints, and information, and a place for outsiders to get a sneak peek into our world. Hey friends, fans, and enemies, I'm Shannon McKenna, and I am back for season 2 of the Artist Athlete podcast. It's so good to be back. If you've been listening to this podcast for a while, you know that I took a little bit of a break in May. And if you've been binging and you, for some reason, observed the release date of this podcast, you also notice the same thing. I usually release podcasts every Monday, and if you subscribe, you will get those podcasts right away. But I needed a month to kind of regroup, focus on some other things, and I want to give a shout out to my Patreons who stuck by me during this time. When I don't record episodes, I actually turn the Patreon off, so nobody gives the small amounts of money that they usually give every month when I'm not making episodes, because it doesn't make sense to help me pay for something that I'm not paying for. But the podcast is back in full swing. Derek is back in the editing room. Katie is back bothering me via email about when the descriptions and the titles and the blah, blah, blah are coming back. So that means that the Patreon is in full swing. If you like what you're listening to and want to become a Patreon, go to patreon.com/theartistathlete. Again, that's patreon.com/theartistathlete. Now, even though it's been a month, I kind of stopped right in the middle of an interview. So my last episode was part 1 of my interview with Dima Shine. If you haven't already listened to part 1 of the interview, go back and listen to that, because it won't make much sense. We kind of jump right into the second part of the interview. In this interview, Dima so perfectly spells out some of the underlying anxieties many artists and athletes and artist athletes go through if they achieve a high level of success pretty early in their careers. He also talks about opening his own business and gives a really honest recount of his negotiations with Cirque du Soleil. Seriously, guys, I was sitting across from him and you can hear it in the interview. Like, I can't believe some of the stuff that Dima was sharing with me. So let's listen to part 2 of my interview with Dima Shine, starting now. So you go around the world, you're playing your music on your hands.
Exactly, kind of. And I was just working all around the world.
I want to know when you get to your second goal.
Yeah, blah, blah, blah. And then at some point in 2008, somewhere,
Okay.
Cirque du Soleil calls me and they offer me a contract for OVO. You know what? It was not far from the festival. It wasn't a festival. It was SAS. I just remember me being in Paris and trying my new costume that ex-wife of Victor was doing, because she does costumes. And I remember something about the emails from Cirque. I think it was somewhere around that time, end of maybe like 2007, 2008, 2007 probably. So they wrote me about this new contract for OVO. And when we negotiated all the rights. That's why Victor also helped a lot to negotiate the rights. So all the rights for the act is still mine. So when I'm done with Cirque, they cannot recreate the same act or something like that. We negotiated everything went well. And then when we started to negotiate the financial side, they offered me the amount of money that I looked at it and I was like, guys, I understand that I was just in a group act and you didn't care much. I mean, nobody really cared about me, blah, blah. I was so small and young and everything. But I'm a little bit different position now. So I was planning to pay more taxes on my salary rather than you giving me salary. You know what I mean? So,
That's a really funny way to say
yeah,
that.
I was like, something doesn't add up. With which they came back, and one of the arguments was like, oh, it's a great salary for, especially for beginning act, you're a new act that's just beginning your career and blah, blah, blah. You're very young, so that's why we're giving you the salary. Which my response was, okay, so if we're not talking about the quality of the act but the age, let's just wait several years more, and then you're gonna come back to me, so my age will fit my amount of salary, right?
Yeah.
which as you can see didn't go well, and I didn't get anything. I know sometimes I'm a little bit cocky on that negotiation parts. So after that, keep working in Europe. I was working in GOP in Münster. Very cool city, actually. Mm-hmm. Had my car there and everything. I was traveling. I was like non-stop working. So financially and work-wise, I was like super busy and super successful. So that also gave me a point to be a little bit more harsh on negotiations. And
yeah, totally. No, it makes sense.
And then Cirque du Soleil called me second time, which was a great sign because, you know, taking in consideration our previous negotiations, they know what I was looking for.
Right.
And if they called second time, it's a good sign. So they called me second time, blah, blah. And then they like offered me another contract for, was 2008. Let's come back a little bit.
I feel like I need a timeline.
Yes. So
calendar.
the first one was 2007, let's say.
Okay.
And then it was 2008. I was working in Europe, and I remember driving. I'm going to come back before the second call from Cirque. I was driving in Europe, in Germany, on my car. And the day before, I was talking to a girl on the internet, on Facebook. I met her on Facebook. She is like several times world champion in pole dance. And we were talking with her, blah, blah. And I figured out that pretty much all the pole dance world knows me because of my pole, because of my structure. Because I do the hand balancing and Chinese kind of pole as well, a mix. So a lot of pole dancers know me. And I was like, wow, that's interesting. I should use it somehow. And another thing, if we come back when I was 15, I always wanted to create some kind of business, my own business. Why? First of all, it's financial independence, because the circus life is limited. Depends on what kind of thing you do in the circus. But let's say hand balancing. It's not
right.
as
It doesn't give you the longevity of like a clown. Or
exactly.
Right?
That's a good word. Longevity. That's what I was looking for. Yeah. And where I was going?
You met the pole dancer. You always wanted to create a business.
So I always wanted to do the business, and I was thinking to open up the car service, car wash, pizza place, like several things but I had no idea what. So I always wanted to do that. But I was going somewhere with a business somewhere on the side. Oh, one of the things, why business also? Because sport is limited. It's very limited. Unless you want to go as a coach, there is gradation. Like there's world championship. Let's say if it's not Olympic, there's world games, which is also one time in 4 years, and blah blah. That's the competition I won. And if it's Olympic, it's Olympic Games. But once you win it, you cannot be better than that. You can be 2-time Olympic or world champion, 3-time, 5-time. One of my, I cannot even call him best friend because they're like my brothers, sons of my coach who trains me, because I was raised with them. I was living in their place. I was sleeping in the same room with them and da.
Sure.
So one of them, he's I think 11-time world champion.
Well,
yeah, a lot of times.
Okay, but you cap out, I guess, is where you're going with this, right? Like
exactly. So you have the floor, you have the ceiling.
Yeah.
Where you can touch it second time and many times, but you cannot go higher than that unless you're gonna go teaching, but it's already another career. Similar thing. It's much more open than sport. You can create many different acts, but there's also kind of ceiling in a sense. As a circus performer, there are best places in the world to work. Let's say for now, Cirque du Soleil is still one of the best places in the world to work for, if you negotiate a great contract. And shows like Zumanity that I was working in Las Vegas for 8 years. Yeah, if you have your solo act and you negotiated your salary and conditions great, and everything is amazing, and you love the show, which I did, it's difficult to find a better place than that. Sure. There can be different places. That's the beauty of the circus, that there is many places like that, and it can be different show, different position, different place.
Yeah.
Definitely. But you cannot call it better.
Nah.
It's just different. So it's kind of limited as well at the same time at some point, but at least you make some money, It's not like in sport in Russia you don't make much. And then in business is unlimited. You can open up, I have a fitness studio in Las Vegas, you can open up there. Now we're looking to bring in a juice bar. I'm thinking to bring a clothing line. I'm working on online videos and certifications for different types of the classes. Then you can open up another location. Then you can open up another business completely different. I do a lot of investments. I do stock market. So it's just unlimited field where your age and your experience add up, and the older and more experience you get, you can use it for the future growth and accumulation. Where in sport, like you do professional sport, let's say I finished my sport at 16, but even though you finish it, let's say at 25, if you not continue as a coach, it's done. It's just line, and then you have to start something from the beginning.
Totally.
That's what I've done a couple times. When I finished my sport and I started circus, I had to come to circus from nothing. Nobody knew me. Nobody knew what I've done. Nobody had a clue what I could do and everything. So I had to prove and start from the beginning and start building my name in this field from scratch. The same thing happened when I started to do business. Nobody knew what I can do and what ideas I have and everything. So I had to build it from scratch.
Did you find a mentor for your business work as well?
Not really.
Yeah, you just kind of figured it out.
I talked to a lot of people. I try to find interesting people to talk to and ask questions and talk to. I have a business partner that's with me, so we just kind of figure out as we go.
Nice.
It's a very expensive school.
No doubt.
Because when you do mistakes, you pay for them cash.
No doubt. But the returns, I'm sure, are worth it.
Of course, I kind of. We'll see. No, they're just worse. It's just super hard. Business is super hard. It's super risky.
But the thing that I find about having a business is like, it's kind of what you were saying really earlier about in banking, like you can only be as good as like your weakest link, or like you have no, but like in business, just like in a solo act, like all of the mistakes you make are yours.
I love business because I personally think there is no gender and there is no age in business. Like for me, business is two minds. They meet and they talk. You talk with your mind. That's it. Your ideas, your creativity, your passion, your determination, your discipline, everything, those things get involved, and you talk on the same level and you go from there. Because like I had business meetings with the guys like 60 years old, and I was on a time I was opening up my business. I was 25, and I couldn't just give myself an excuse that I am weaker because I'm younger and all that stuff. No, I mean, when you go to the business, you don't, it's like on stage, you don't go on stage and say, oh, excuse me, I'm not going to be so good, as good today because I didn't train as good yesterday. So today I'm going to suck a little bit, but usually I'm better. You don't say that. Same thing in the business. You go there and that's it. It's you show what you have.
Yeah.
And if you're not as good, it's your problem, and you have to study. It's not your age. It's not your everything. You need experience. Go get it.
Yeah.
That's why I like that there is no age, no gender. It doesn't matter you're woman or man. You have to be strong. That's the point. That's it.
That's true.
You cannot just have an excuse, or I'm a woman, that's why I'm weaker, that's why, or something, that's why you have to give me excuse. No, you're opening up a business. Go there and survive.
No, that's true. That's super true.
So that's also
real.
that's one of the reasons I also like business, because it keeps you on top, tip-top shape. You have to be disciplined. You have to be
On it.
You have to work on yourself a lot to be able to open up yourself and to get all the information and experience as a sponge and process it, to be able to process, to be able to analyze, and then implement it.
What do you do to work on yourself to be better in business?
In business? Oh my God, that's a deep question. I need a hookah. On myself? First of all, I think a lot of logic involved in business.
Yeah.
So you have to know that you have to have a great product, and then you have to have demand for that product to be able to sell it. So you just take that logically, that chain of the events, and then you break it down to very small
So was
things
the inspiration like this woman? You found out you were big, like the pole dancers knew
So
you.
we're coming back to 2008.
Yeah. Okay.
Come back 2008. So I talked to this woman, and I figured out that a lot of people know me in pole dance world. I was like, I need to use it somehow. And then the next day or whatever, I'm driving. I remember that day driving on the highway. I was talking to Victor on the phone, and I was talking about this, and then I was like, why don't I just open up a pole dance studio? I don't remember. Something it came up to conversation. He said that, or me said that. I don't remember exactly, but this thing came up in the conversation, and I started to think. And since that time, I got that fire back. Since that day, I got that just like the goal, and I became super excited. I started to think how to do that, and I realized that to be able to, first of all, I didn't have money to do that. So I had to find a work where I would work on the same city where I would open the business, because in order to open the business, I had to work to make money. Right. But in order to start the business, I had to live in the same place so I can have time to build it, open up, and start it. So I started to think, okay, where we have long contracts. Basically, pretty much, it's only Cirque du Soleil that you can like residential.
Right.
So
Sure.
You sign a contract for a year or two or whatever, and then you can stay there, and for a year at least you know that you have a contract. So that's when Cirque du Soleil came up in my mind again.
Shine Fitness is in LA, or I'm sorry, Vegas.
Las Vegas. I'm not gonna say all the details.
Why not? You've already been going for an hour.
How I got to Las Vegas.
Okay.
Not to include any names. So I got to Las Vegas. The first show I went to see, it was Zumainji. I remember it was like they did the bow, like finale and everything. I stand up, standing ovation, blah blah. I was clapping, and I was like, and I thought to myself, wow, that's the show I want to be in. So I'm coming back to New York, and then I'm going to our directors, and I started to talk that I would like to see if there's possibility to transfer to Las Vegas, to Zumainji. So at some point they thought, wow, that might be an interesting idea, because they also had Felix Kane. She was doing pole dance there. And if we could mix something or do something like guy and a girl, it started like that. So we started negotiations, we started to talk about the stuff, and talk about the money, talk about everything. And we agreed pretty much on everything. And Zumainji said, okay, just go for vacation, and then you can come back, we sign contract and everything is good. So I'm going for vacation, I'm coming back, and then they said no.
Oh man.
After 2 months of negotiation,
Oh man.
and pretty tough one, they said no, and then they said that they don't want to have a guy on the pole, blah blah, in the show. They're having a girl, it's enough, da-da-da-da. So I was like, what can I do? I mean, I tried my best, and I did try hard, and it didn't work. I mean, if you didn't try, it's one thing, but I tried and it didn't work. What can I do? I need to move on and do something else. And then we having a meeting in New York about the show didn't go well, so we're being kicked out and kind of not kicked out, but we're not gonna stay as a resident show and we're gonna go on tour. And I was like, guys, I didn't want to go on tour first of all. But whatever, let's then negotiate my contract for the tour because it's gonna be a little different. Because I came for resident.
Yeah.
And that's why I also signed for New York because of my studio plans. But of course, when I got to New York, I was like, it was like super expensive there, and I didn't work enough to make any money and to open up anything like that. So I wasn't ready yet. And then we're going on tour. We're doing the first city, Toronto. We're staying there for a month. 2 weeks before we finish, we have a meeting, and the directors come and they say, okay, we're gonna close the show because we didn't sell much tickets in the new city, so we have to close the show, and that's it. I'm telling you like all the secrets, my god.
I know.
They said we're closing, blah blah, okay, whatever. And that was right after the crisis hit in Europe. So we're closing the show, and then usually when the show closes, there's a casting team that comes to the show, and they're gonna talk to the artist if you wanna stay with us, if you wanna transfer to another show, all that stuff. So the casting comes in, and then each of the artists will have individual meetings with them. On my meeting, they started talking, okay, would you like to stay at Cirque? I'm like, yes. Would you like to do resident show, traveling show? I'm like, resident show. Okay, Asia or States? States. Okay, Florida or Las Vegas? Las Vegas.
Yeah, for sure.
Any particular show? Yes. Zumanity. And they're like, yeah, but we cannot. Mm-hmm. We just had negotiation, we cannot. There is no spot for you. There is no place. We cannot do that. And I'm like, okay, but that's the show I want to be in. So we talk. We didn't end up going anything. They just collected my information. And that's it. The meeting finished. I'm having another meeting. I don't remember, like 3 or 4 days before we finish.
It really doesn't matter.
This thing again, though, I just want to point out, this thing again happens like that time in Montreal is like on the last day I got this. Like it always come to the point where all my bags were packed to go home. So everything is ready. It's just funny how it sometimes in life. So I'm again having the second meeting with the casting directors. It was 4 directors sitting there. I remember like 4 people sitting in front of me. So I'm walking into the second meeting and coming back, considering there was just a crisis, a financial crisis in the world, and especially also like in Europe, in circus, like lots of places closed, they put the prices down. There was not much work and everything. So I was not really having much to come back to. It was very different from what I left to circuit was in Europe. So it was a very hard situation in Europe work-wise. So I'm walking into the second meeting. I walk into the room. I see the 4 people in front of me. And before we started, I saw they wanted to start to talk. Before we started to talk, I started to talk first. And I said, guys, let's make it simple. Would you like this? Or I'm going to Zumanity, or I'm leaving Cirque du Soleil. I don't remember what we said after.
Are you kidding me?
No, I don't think we said much. I left the room. That's it.
Dima, how many people in the world do you think could do that?
It was cocky, I know.
Like, yo, I'm sorry. I just had to take a moment and be like, okay, what is this?
It was stressful.
Yeah, I bet.
But I tell you, I in my life, I had several times that it was all or nothing. So the last day comes in, I have my contract in hand. Last day.
There you are.
I lay down and coming back, you remember I told you about the first formation in Montreal. It was 2003, and my first formation in Montreal, the Zumanity was in creation.
Wow.
It was behind the doors because it's an erotic show and everybody's naked. And I wanted to be in that show so much.
Wow.
I came to train for Bankin, I was dreaming about that show. Why? Because like it's something different. But I saw those beautiful, sexy girls. I saw those huge, strong guys. And I was 17. I would come to the mirror, look at myself. I was like, yep.
Trying to do some more push-ups.
Doesn't fit. So I didn't even have a chance. And then 7 years later, I was laying down in my hotel room with Zumanity contract in front of my eyes on my pillow on my bed. I was laying down in front with open laptop, and I posted on Facebook, like I just wrote like I have a Zumanity contract in front. Should I sign? And I just posted, and it was like sign, like like hundreds of comments, and it was magical.
There you are. Oh, that's crazy.
What Victor told me, it's an amazing thing. And he told me this about the contracts at Cirque du Soleil and everything, but I think it's everywhere in life. The thing is that if you're ready to lose it, you can push and you might get it. But if you're not ready to lose it, you're not gonna
get it.
So that's what kept me on top and kept me doing this kind of risky moves. But it's amazing, especially to remember that. It's like,
that's nuts, man.
What kind of story is that?
It's a 1 in a million for sure. I don't think I told you earlier, I've given 45 interviews at this point, and that's nuts.
So that's how I got to Las Vegas. I'm flying to Las Vegas.
Okay, so I really hope that you didn't get Zumanity. Just like Demand, you were talking about, like you were really sad after Demand.
No, I was super excited.
So you get Zumanity, and then what happened?
No, I was dreaming about the studio. This is one of the main goals. I want to go to Zumanity. I love Zumanity itself. It's still my favorite show of Cirque du Soleil, but my studio was like, I came there and that was, I was living, breathing, and dreaming, thinking, everything. It was a studio. So I'm coming to Las Vegas, and I had a very difficult time at Zumanity at first. Why? Because I had very hard time with the artistic director, with the whole team, with the managers, with all the directors and everything, because nobody wanted to have me there. So, and also they had to cut every act in the show by 1 minute, and artists also didn't like me because of that. So basically I came to the place that nobody wanted to see me there. So
that's so sad. It's like the one place you wanted to be.
It is. So I had a lot of problems at first. Usually when we have there's if you did something wrong or if you've been late for something, blah blah, you get like a verbal warning. So you have 3 verbal warnings, 3 written strikes, written notices, and then there is suspension where they take you out of the show once or twice. But usually people don't go to suspension; they fire them or something.
Sure.
So in the first 2 months, I had 3 verbal warnings, 3 writing strikes, and 4 suspensions.
Dude, what's wrong with you?
I was just, why with me?
Get your life together, man.
It was a lot of fighting inside. Nobody wanted to see me there, and it was lots of problems that we had to deal with. And people were saying straight to my face that we don't want to have you here. Which kind of, I'm going through all that stuff and experiences, blah blah. I got pretty. It also work you, polish you. So I'm pretty strong to other opinions and all that stuff. So I don't really take it personally or something like that. So it helps you to develop your character and personality and everything. So that doesn't touch it. That doesn't bother me. But I had a lot of difficulties at first when I got to Zumanity. And then with the time, the management changed, the company changed, blah, 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 a lot of people changed, and then I had a great time. Then it was the best place to be.
Cool.
And I was getting along with everyone, and so yeah. And then I was staying there for half a year. I got the temporary contract for half a year at Zumanity. So I'm coming there, and because I like to I don't spend much on things or something. I don't buy many things, but the only thing I like cars. And
I noticed.
Until 25 years old, I turned 25 when I got to Las Vegas. Until 25 years old, I was working the whole time, but I didn't spend anything because I was always trying to save for the studio in the future or for something. So I have a pretty good discipline and like financial thing for things I want to do. And since I was a kid, my passion is I like race driver, like racing and more like Paris Dakar rallies, you know?
Yeah.
This is my passion. Yeah, so I love driving and cars and everything. So when I got there,
What time is it?
just
Sorry.
you're good. It's 4:28. My God.
Oh, dude. Okay. We got to wrap this up.
Yeah, we're almost done.
No, like, we got to wrap this up. So, like, I got places to be too, man.
Okay, 2 minutes. Give me 2 minutes.
No, we got to go for more than 2 minutes, but like, yeah. Okay. So you got on Zumanity.
I got in Zumanity. I got there, and then I got through all these problems. And then after that, I was looking for the places for my studio and everything, and I found one place. So I signed the lease for them, and I started to register my company and everything. And but as I told you, I didn't drink coffee when I tried it first time there, and I started drinking coffee. The only place we had coffee on the 4th floor, which is the coffee machine there, but also production offices. And there was this assistant company manager and everybody. But assistant company manager always helps you with if any questions you have. So I was having coffee and going to assistant company manager just to talk about dance classes, acting classes, going to some agencies and everything. And then slowly I started to ask some business questions, and I figured out that the guy understands something. So it was like more and more. And then at the end of the day, I asked if he want to be my business partner. So he stepped in because he was already super interested in that. Mm-hmm. So he stepped in, and now we just celebrated 7 years of Shine Alternative Fitness.
Congratulations.
In Las Vegas. Thank you. Okay, let's wrap this up. It's a great story.
Okay, so I have one last question that I ask every one of... That was actually literally 2 minutes. Good job.
You see?
Wow. Look at you.
Discipline. We're talking for like 2 hours, man.
It happens. So my last question I ask everybody, and I feel like I'm excited for your answer, but
Me too.
Yo, what advice would you give to yourself at the beginning of your career?
Oh my God, there's advice?
Yeah. Like if you could go back in time and talk to yourself, probably at like 15, I guess, when you started working for Cirque.
I would say that one of the things I learned is that, I mean, not taking the act consideration trainings and all that stuff that are there, but in terms of business aspect of the show business, I would say learning communications, because communication is key. Before I would do some events or shows or something, I would just go there, do my job and then leave. Where now, if I go to do events, it's completely different when you can communicate freely and you're sincerely interested in other people and things and projects and everything. You can really develop and build your pool of people that you know and a business area and work area, people that you know that you might work in the future. So you build your business relationships, and the more you build it, the stronger you build them, the more work and opportunities you will have in the future. So use every moment, every occasion to create relationships and nurture them so you can build your pool of contacts and work.
You guys can't see it, but he's got a very winning smile on right now. Dima, thank you so much for this interview, man. This is awesome.
Thank you.
Let's get the hookah going.
That was my interview with Dima Shine. If you're in the Las Vegas area and you want to learn from Dima, you can visit him at Shine Fitness or online at shinealternativefitness.com. You can also follow him on Instagram at dima.shine. For aerial-specific training tips and information, you can follow me on Instagram. I'm at _artist_athlete. On Facebook, The Artist Athlete. And to learn more about my online courses or visit the back catalog of podcasts, you can visit me online at www.theartistathlete.com. The podcast is back with new episodes every Monday. If you like what you hear, subscribe, leave a 5-star rating, ching, and write a review. I love to hear from you guys. That's all for me. Talk at you next week, friends, fans, and enemies. The Artist Athlete podcast is supported solely by donations from people like you. Here's what some of those people have to say.
Aloha! My name is Beth Russell, and I live on the beautiful island of Maui, Hawaii. I am an aerial artist and movement instructor specializing in chakra yoga to keep me balanced and grounded. I play with silks, trapeze, lyra, rope, acro, aerial yoga and dance, slacklining, pole, bungee, and climbing. Really anything that goes up and allows me to explore 3D space. You can find my dedicated aerial page on Instagram at Maui Aerialist. If you find yourself coming to Maui, let's play.
Hey there, friends, fans, and enemies. This is Chris Alston, Patreon of the Artist Athlete podcast. Straps artist and lyra performer and acrobat out of Greenville, South Carolina. So, if you're ever passing through, make sure to stop in and see me and my friends. We have a wonderful space, and we'd love to see you.
Hi, my name is Erica Lee. I'm from St. Louis, Missouri, and I'm an aerialist. I teach performing arts to elementary school during the day and do pole and slings and rope by night. I really, really like the Artist Athlete podcast because it gives me a lot of circus goals to look forward to. It gives me a lot of insight on what's going on around the world in circus, and that's why I'm Patreon.
Hello all. Thank you for tuning in to the Artist Athlete podcast. I am Opal Schwartz from Minneapolis, Minnesota. If you're ever in the cities, feel free to stop by the Aviary Minneapolis. It's a great time. With that, I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your week, and goodbye.